Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
Okay, hello and welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. I'm Scott, joined once again by Rob to talk AEW. Rob, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I lost my mask. I think like in the middle of moving, I was looking for my mask and I'm thinking, I've got Hurricane. Where's
At least you
one?
got that one. Yeah.
I mean, I would have been standing like this, like. But
we have to get like a live blur on you, yeah.
But I'm good. Other than that, looking, I ran around. I'm thinking, right, we're recording in like 10 minutes. Like, where is it? The room's a mess.
Like, t-shirt or some underwear, just cut holes in it. And stick it on the face.
But I mean, I've got this one, which is good. So this is my prediction mask.
At least we got the backup. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad. I think it's best to be honest with our viewers. I'm feeling a little bit fragile, a little bit sick at the moment. I think I'm coming down with something. So if at any point I might run to the toilet, not to get grim, but if I leave my stomach too much, it might get nasty.
You're gonna
put it out there. Full disclaimer. Hopefully we'll be fine.
You're gonna golf me, man. Don't be doing that. I'll have to talk to
yeah, if you're gonna spew in this as well. Double golf. Right. Anyway, hopefully I won't garf you. I won't leave you on your own talking to the camera. Yeah, we're here to talk AEW. We are here to do the recap and review of AEW Full Gear. Now, it was a big event. It felt like all along it would be a big event. And for the most part, I would say it delivered. What we'll do here, we'll go match per match. We'll go along, starting with a little bit of talk about the pre-show. And as always, just give our thoughts on the show in general and what some of the big moments that we saw throughout the night. So first off, let's go with what we did see in the pre-show. First of all, we did have a lot of the build-up kind of promo packages, which as always were fantastic. Long ones, short form ones, they did. Both versions were great. But first, we've got Dante Martin basically trying to be, I guess, what do you call it? Recruited by Team Taz, who sit up in the boxes looking like WCW wrestlers from WrestleMania 17. Yeah, they're up there trying to recruit. And then also the Acclaimed come out, do a funny little rap. Yeah, also go after Dante. But very, very aggressive kind of approach they take on it. Basically, you're with us or against us type stuff where you know it's only going one way. And it does, and Dante does a beautiful dive over the top rope. Well, dive onto the top rope and then over the top. Did you see much of this? And if so, what did you think of it?
Yeah, firstly, I'm quite shocked that you watched the pre-show, man. Normally that's your cooking time. Like, what changed?
I weren't watching live. No, actually, I did watch that bit live. Yeah, I did. So, wow. I guess. Yeah, I was trying not to go. Again, told you, dodgy stomach, man. I need to be careful at the moment.
But yeah, no, I watched it. It was really good. I think, do you know what? Everything about that was great. The only thing that annoyed me was they didn't. It would have been nice for them to flick back to Taz occasionally just to see what's going on, because he'd done the recruitment bit.
Yeah,
that was
like
it.
A close up. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I really enjoyed it. He's looking promising. To him teaming with Leo is. I think if anything, it's going to be good for him. So, we'll see what's going to happen. And the fact that Leo Rush is now, he's because he announced retirement. I don't know if you listened to Jericho's.
Which the rap did go into, by the way.
Yeah, it did. It was a solid rap as well. I'm not going to lie. I was bumping to it. But yeah, so if you listen to Jericho's podcast, Leo spoke about why he announced retirement and what was happening at the time and stuff. Okay. But the fact that he's back wrestling and, he looks happy, which is, obviously was the main thing that we want to see. So, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to come next for both of them. Yeah,
me too. Nice little segment to get the crowd going. And then we moved into another thing to get the crowd going, which was a women's tag team match, which had basically quarterfinalists of the TBS tournament basically teaming up together. Shida and Thunder Rosa get the babyface win. And again, it was just one of those, and we say this a lot on the channel, one of those matches did what it needed to do, got the bums in the seats, got people excited, and got the baby faces looking good, and the heels looking like bad guys. So yeah, for me, not much to go into, but an enjoyable match. Yeah,
same. A part of me feels like there's certain people that shouldn't be on a pre-show. Like when we've done like WWE things, not that I want to compare, which we always said about not comparing with AEW and WWE when we do these, but sometimes when you watch a WWE pay-per-view, you think, oh, they shouldn't be on a pre-show, or that's where they should be. All four of these women, none of them deserve to be pre-show. And the fact that they were able to put on a stellar match, and it has a tie into, as you said, like the tournament and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's a story within something else. And the fact, and as you said, like the babyface got the win. It was a great match, and it wasn't one of those, I didn't really miss much when I chose. If you missed that match, go back and watch it, because it was such a good match.
Yeah, you missed a proper match. Yeah,
it
was good. Yeah. I guess, and we've touched on it before, though, it's hard to say don't deserve on a pre-show or to be on a pre-show, because someone's got to be on it. It's always tough in that sense. But yeah, with that being said, let's move into the main show itself. Now, the first match we get here is 2 of the 4 pillars, MJF and Darby Allin, or if you listen to JR, 2 of the 4 pillows. Don't get me wrong, I've mixed up a few words in my time as well, but that one did make me laugh, and Twitter did go a bit mad about it. JR made a few mistakes tonight, which I think we'll get into a little bit later on, but hey, he is the greatest of all time, so I'll let him off. Now, with this match, though, we started out with Darby Allin's car video. It's always interesting when he does stuff like this. I did think, I know it's not meant to be real. It's meant to be shot like a movie. But for him to blow up the car with the fake MJF in the car, it was like, well, his mate playing that role's now dead. That's a bit weird. But other than that, as the spectacle goes, as far as the way he comes out with a video like that before the match, I thought it was a good way to get things going. And as far as getting things going, it was a great start, great match. Even at the beginning, they did a ton of pins and reversals. This little sequence they did very, very early on that I was very, very impressed by. And yeah, I just generally really enjoyed this match. What do you think?
Yeah, so the videos that Darby always does before like any match, mainly on our pay-per-views, they're so impressive because I think I might be wrong, but I believe he's like an aspiring film director and creator and stuff. Right. So I think I'm sure I heard it somewhere, but everything he does, he's written and it's shot from his perspective and how he wants to do it and that. And they're so impressive. So whoever it is that's shooting these with Darby, like I love it's so indie, but it's so well produced as well.
Yeah.
And it's so gripping, especially the last one with All Out against Punk with the helicopter. It was so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the match itself was I don't like MJF for the fact that we're not supposed to like MJF, right? But you can't help but love him when he does things. If you know what I mean, like he has that kind of that thing about him. And I never realized how great of a performer he is until I really watched him last night. Just the sequences, the way he controlled the crowd. Oh, it was so good. Like after watching that match, I was thinking the guys in the back must be thinking, like that's something to top. Like, and that was match 1.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think I really like MJF for character reasons, but it's easy to forget because he feels like a very character-based wrestler. Just how good he is in the ring, and when he has a match like this, maybe the best one I've seen him have. But not to say that the others weren't good, but this one really went above and beyond for me. I thought it was very, very impressive. And again, I think it's easy with someone that's so character-based, who feels character-based at least. You forget how good they can be in the ring. And when you get those things mixed together, character and in-ring work, on the mic and all that, man, that's when you get a star. And obviously he's looking like that. And the self-professed, proclaimed even 4 pillars of AEW, him and obviously Darby in this match, Sammy Guevara and Jungle Boy. I can definitely see what he means. And it was good seeing 2 of them together. They made a point in commentary that he had beaten the others. He hadn't beat Darby yet. So I thought, oh, so is this what's going to happen? And obviously it did go that way, but I'm glad the way it went because for how they did it, which we'll get to. But some of the big spots I think worth shouting out as well, the brutal powerbomb that he did onto his own knee onto Darby Allin, who Darby just sells amazingly, and his body kind of flips and flaps in ways that just looks good for someone selling. And yeah, it was just, you had the sunset bomb, powerbomb, near fall, the coffin drop to the outside, which looks a real risky one, and then Sting coming down as well to stop the Pinnacle as well. Now, I will say this show did have a lot of outside interference and a lot of strange finishes at times, but at this very moment in time, I enjoyed what I was seeing. It was a great match. I did kind of feel like, should a match that good end with such a hokey finish? But it made sense for the storyline. And again, if we're going to appreciate MJF's character side and in-ring side, we've got to take both parts of that. And yeah, that's probably a great symbol for what this match is, because it ends with the skateboard situation. And you know, that kind of being taken off of him and then hitting with the ring and literally winning with a headlock takeover, as he said he would be able to do, which I thought was such a clever thing to do. A great play on the words that he had used. And yeah, for me, a really good way to end it. I felt a bit confused at the time, thinking, are they really going to end a big match like this, like a great in-ring match like this? But hey, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, everything about that, like as you just said, the skateboard and Sting coming out, because as you said later on in the show, it does happen a bit more. Like there is a lot of like people coming out, but that's what it is. It's wrestling, man. Like if we're looking at it from a wrestling point of view, people coming out is what they want to do to help their friends. You know, like in WWE, we don't get that. It's just a solid match, and that's it. I like it when people come out because you're like, oh, what now? What's going to happen? What dimension is being added now? And you know, Sting coming out and just whacking both guys, you know, from the Pinnacle was great. Like anytime you get to see Sting swing a bat, like I'm all for it. Even if he just comes out and does that, I'm not going to complain. Finish though.
Go on.
Yeah, so I like the finish, but I have my only criticism was when they showed back the replay, it looked like Darby's shoulder was off the mat.
Oh,
like one shoulder looked like it was off the mat, and I'm thinking,
I guess he can use that. But that's not really the point of the way they did it. It was meant to be he was out cold, so yeah, that's a bit awkward.
Because he held him in a headlock, didn't like the takedown, and he held him, and his shoulder was, instead of being flat, it was kind of up. So I'm thinking, all right, well, the ref counted, didn't see it, so clearly to him it was down. But from the angle the camera showed, maybe it was the angle, but he looked like his shoulder was off of that. But other than that, that's the only thing I'm complaining about. Hey, then the match is great.
That's a good point. Right, so we moved on from the first match on the main show, at least, into another pretty big match, and we go into the tag title match for the AEW tag titles. Obviously, AAA tag champions involved in this as well, with FTR challenging the Lucha Brothers. Another match that I really enjoyed. I thought it was great, fast, impactful action. Both teams performed very well together. And at this point, I think the excitement levels were just continuing to rise.
I feel like whoever allows the Lucha Brothers to go out second needs to make sure they didn't give them any adrenaline or Red Bulls, because man, them guys are just on one from the start of the match to the end of it. Like it's just non-stop.
Cool.
It was so good. You know, being a fellow Lucha,
of course,
you know, you got to represent. But yeah, man, like the entrance was great, and I love the little things that they done. So I don't know if you see, but FTR, they had one American knee pad and then one Mexican one for the AAA titles. But they come into play a little bit later on and kind of backfired on them, as we'll speak about it throughout the match. But no, man, I like the way it was done was great.
Yeah, and I think a key thing here, sometimes we point out the big spots and they're obvious things like backwards hurricane runners that landed on the steps or something crazy but sometimes it's just the simple stuff. An example of that is, I think it was Wheeler, he went for a drop kick, and I can't remember who it was on, but one of them, they just moved out of the way and he just drop kicked into the ropes, like he flipped back on the ropes, like he just jumped too far. And it's just simple things like that, like it sounds silly, but it takes a mind to think of this stuff. They're not going through their paces. It's not just simple stuff that they're churning out all the time. There's random little things like that I think are always worth kind of pointing out, just because they make the match feel different and special. It's not just going through the same kind of paces. So one of the bigger spots, I guess, storyline wise, you would get the hit with a belt and a brain buster into the kick out. And also we've got Dax trying to do the Three Amigos, which obviously he gets booed quite a bit. We have a few Eddie Guerrero tributes here, obviously, as it was the 16th anniversary of his sad passing. But it was great to see a lot of the kind of shout outs to Eddie through this, and we'll kind of touch on some of those later on. But then, I think it was Penta that then does the Three Amigos himself.
Yeah.
And that was good. That was good to see. And then, I think it was Penta that did it, because then I think it was Fénix that did the splash.
Fénix done the splash.
Okay, it was that way around. But that frog splash, my goodness, was that a good frog splash?
I'll be honest, because it's open, right? You told me about you being ill, so I'll be. I got teary seeing that Three Amigos.
Really? Wow.
It's things like that, and then with the inner circle later on with Jericho, we'll touch on that. But the things to do with Eddie, I loved Eddie. And him being the undisputed champion, probably one of my favorite. I think I loved that belt purely because of the way Eddie had it. And it was such a sudden shock that he had passed. So things and them tributes and little things like that just showing how great he is. And it's not just from one company. It was Eddie. Like, it was just Eddie. It wasn't about a company. It was just about Eddie. And the respect that he got and the love he got last night, really, I was like, damn. And seeing the Three Amigos in that frog splash, I was like, oh. But my only criticism with this match is it should have ended on that frog splash.
Okay.
Like that, okay. For me, it was like if they're doing that for Eddie, it should have finished on that frog splash. But we get it later, so I wasn't too. Do you know what I mean?
So, yeah. It was such a good frog splash. But I guess they did have more story to tell. You did have the that stomp pile driver thing, but then bounce onto the what a great it's like it's Mario or something, just bounce onto something else. That was I can't even call it, but and then Cash being the illegal guy with the mask on, and then desperately, I felt like they explained that on commentary quite well, but I don't know if that was coming across that well in person. I don't know if maybe the camera weren't getting it as much. Maybe it was good in person, but it just I got that what they were doing, but I just don't know if it struck as strong as I think they maybe thought it would. I thought it was clever though. It was unique of being like, hey, I'm trying to be the wrong guy because I'm gonna, I'm wearing a mask, you don't know who I am, and then being like, oh no, I'm wearing a mask, you don't know who I am, I shouldn't have been pinned. I thought it was kind of clever doing it like that, but I just don't know if it connected in a way that it maybe could have. Yeah,
it was a kind of hit and miss because it done what it needed to do, but unless you kind of knew what happened, if you just watched it for the paper, like face of just a pay-per-view, and you don't watch any other AEW tapings and stuff, it would have been weird watching it back because there is story behind that. Like my wife watched it with me. She's like, why don't they put masks on? So I kind of had to explain what was going on. From like a casual fan, they wouldn't get it. But someone that watches it and knows what keeps up to date with it, it made sense. But the commentary team did a great job to explain why and what was going on.
Yeah. I just don't know if it was that clear from the protests of like, hey, I'm the legal guy from Dax. Like, I feel like that should have been more kind of clear, to make it. That's the only thing I think, because I think it was an interesting way to do it, but I just don't know if it was that clear is all. But anyway, I agree most of what you said as well. Like, it was a good match. The Eddie thing would have been a nice way to end it, but as you say, we do get onto something else like that later on. Now, the next match, we've got Miedo versus Bryan Danielson. Now, this match was another great match, and it was just a great example, I think, straight away, early on at least, of going, this roster's strong. And they both look good. Like, it's easy. You can look at certain rosters at certain times, and people just don't have the cool factor or the shine like they once did, or it's just not their time. But there are so many people on this roster that I think you wouldn't be surprised if someone said, I came here to see this person, or this person to me should be the next champion or something like that. And I think this match showed that. We've kind of touched on it before. Miedo didn't have the greatest start in some people's eyes in AEW, but it's really turned around for him lately. I mentioned there Bryan Danielson, and I admit I've mixed up Daniel Bryan. It's very hard to kind of move away from that. You've got to just say Bryan at least, that's an easy way out. Now, I felt bad for JR because he got it wrong once, and I knew Twitter would be going mad at him. Then he did it again, and then I think he did it for the third time. I think that was his final time, and then he kept emphasizing that the correct way after that, which was a little awkward. Maybe that was just him trying to train himself back into saying it, so he didn't slip up again, and kept emphasizing the mistakes he had made. And I just felt just let go. Let it go, it's fine. That was a bit awkward, but I can't say it took away from the match. The match itself was very cool.
Yeah, I think you have to take little things like that with a pinch of salt. Like I'm just guessing, but like for the last 7-8 years, Bryan Danielson has been called Daniel Bryan. Like, do you know what I mean? So, and he was a world champion in another company, Daniel. So when you go from almost the same name. Do you know what I mean? It's easily done. Like, for example, Andrade was still Andrade, but they added something extra later. For AEW. So he's still Andrade. But then if you went from one name to another, of course you're gonna get tongue tied every now and then because you're not calling it on the fly like they were every single week. So little things like that, man. Yeah, it does get annoying because he did keep repeating himself, but it didn't take away from the match. Like you said, the match was hard hitting. I think this is the best we've seen Miedo. As you said, he had a bad start with like the best man stuff. Again, it wasn't a great start for. It didn't look good on him because he was like, I'm coming in as this beast, and he just didn't look like a beast. And then since he had the title run, and then obviously he dropped the title, and he's on another like war path. Okay, you may not have qualified for the next match, but for the title. But man, like he looked impressive, and I like the fact that AEW continued the thing of Bryan has never beaten him, and it put that on. So it was like, okay, we're acknowledging something, but we're not saying everything. And
I think Miro looked. I nearly called him Rusev there, so we can all mix up. I think Miro looked scary. Like, there was a time where Bryan got him into the label lock, and Miro just fought his way out of it, ground and pound. It was a similar thing a few months back. I remember saying that about Roman Reigns, just how amazing, how cool it looked that he fought his way out of a submission and just looked like he was going to kill the guy. And I felt the same way with Miro once he got on top of Daniel Bryan. It was like, oh, take it easy, man. Like, and that's what you want from these guys and these kind of characters and body types and wrestling styles. Like, when you get a mix like this and they work and mesh so well together, it's great. And another thing as well, I did notice as well, talking of Daniel Bryan days, he did encourage his yes chants. Obviously, there's been talk he wasn't too sure if he should kind of go full force on it. He might not be doing that. He might not be saying it, but he was doing this to encourage it, which was nice to see as well, because you can't get away from it. It is one of those chants that will live on for a long time, way beyond Daniel Bryan's career, Bryan Danielson's career. There you go. I think it was, just embrace it. Just allow it to happen and kind of feed off of it, because it was a bit awkward when he wasn't. But, going back to the match, though, just trying to see from my notes if there's anything else that I really wanted to mention. Oh, when Daniel Bryan... There we go. Look, when Bryan Danielson is inviting... is doing his yes kicks, basically, and Miro is just inviting him on. And then he does his one power, even though Bryan Danielson is very good at his kicks, and he's known for that, and it didn't take away the fact that they were powerful and he is strong in that kind of area. It made Miro look like, well, of course his kicks are going to be powerful. He's huge, So like when he did his one kick, Bryan just fell down and he got back out, and Miro's like, come on. And he goes, let me try again. Boom, boom. Not affects me that much. It hurts, but let me give you one kick. And I thought that was such perfect storytelling between the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that moment really stuck in my mind, because, as you said, it was like I wouldn't say David and Goliath, because they're fairly the same height, but of size wise, Miro's a lot bigger.
Build,
it's thicker in muscle and stuff. So as you said, it's going to be like a fly hitting a cat, and then the cat just swatting it out of the way. Like that's what it's going to be like, you know. Maybe not a fly, but Bryan Danielson's a bit bigger than that. But
a little bit,
you know what I mean. But yeah, it was so good. As you said, sometimes the simple storytelling is so much more effective than this elaborate, over the top stuff. And that right there, as you said, with the 3 or 4 kicks to 1, showed how powerful Miedo was, but didn't show how weak Bryan was, because he got up afterwards and I tried it again, you know?
Yeah.
So I liked it. It was really good. I think it was little moments like that you said. I think it just made the match an extra bit special, especially and I think the finish with obviously Bryan going over, it helped tell that story, because I think there's still unfinished business between them.
Yeah, and it's always risky in these kind of things where you're just like, oh yeah, it's all well and good saying that Miedo's doing better now, but then like, when does he get that kind of win that goes to the top? But I think the way they've rebuilt him with this TNT run and even taking the title off him, you think surely he's being catapulted towards main event level, but there's only so many people we can keep in that at a certain time, so he might have to bide his time for a little bit. But yeah, again, I think it did a great job, even though he lost, of making him look like a machine, and that's what he's needed again for so long.
Yeah.
The end, though, another strange end. It was a DDT off the top rope type thing, swinging DDT, which kind of went into a guillotine. But if I remember correctly, they kind of separated, and he went back to it. Was that another match where we had a similar kind of thing? Either way, I remember being a bit of a strange ending. But hey, again, I'm very pleased with the match, and I think it did. They both did a good job of telling that story, and yeah, keeping the fans alive. I mean, now we've had 3 very good matches in a row, and then we are followed up. Well, before we get to that, like we mentioned, it does make Bryan Danielson the number 1 contender for the AEW World Title. We'll get into who the champion is later on. I'm sure we don't need to worry about spoiling it here. We all know it's Hangman Page by now, but we'll get to that later on. But just before we do, what do you think about Bryan having to go, going after? Is he going to go straight after him, or is he just going to be like, does he get the title shot in the future?
Well, this is what I wanted to ask you. Firstly, do you think it's too soon? Because obviously we'll talk about the match later with Hangman and Omega, but like Bryan is just new to the company. Is there other people you want to see him wrestle before he gets this main event stuff? Not that he's not a main event guy.
Yeah, I think if it was Kenny, I'd be like, yeah, do it. But because he's a babyface, maybe he won't be. But because he's a babyface, I'm just like, could have seen you do some more things first. But I guess this is where they have that kind of. It's good when they don't have so many pay-per-views, but it can be problematic where it's like, well, when will it be then? When's the next big one? Probably 3 months' time or something like that. There seems to be. So, will it be then? Is he going to be number 1 contender for that long? It's and by then, Hangman Page could have lost it. So, yeah, it's a tough one, because I think if it was, and he could have turned heel by then. Who knows? So, maybe that's why. But it's hard to kind of guess. We're so used to having pay-per-views every month. We go, well, this is where they're going next. Maybe that doesn't factor in here. It's
yeah.
But yeah, I think I agree with you in that it is a bit strange seeing him go straight for the title. He's going to get there eventually, but I think when he does, it should just be with the right person. I'm not sure Hangman Page is that right person for Bryan Danielson's title match.
Yeah,
as it currently stands, at least as a babyface.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn, because a part of me is thinking I'd love to see Bryan really push and then show that he come back from obviously the injury. He done the WWE title with the Herbal Championship, which Herbal, not yet, but which was great. The Planet's Champion and stuff. And now he's doing this. It's something different. And he said he wanted to be into wrestling, and obviously this is wrestling. So I think we're going to get what the American Dragon of Ring of Honor. I think when he becomes a champion, that's when I see him. I want to see him turn heel, not before, because that way he gets the pop of being winning the championship, then he gets the booze straight after, or it then becomes booze. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. One part of me wants to see Bryan being move on to the championship soon, But another part of me is thinking, okay, he's number one contender. Will he put that opportunity on the line to build something, and then...
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, it could do. And I think you're right. This is a different Bryan Danielson. Like, it's about trying to be, the wrestler, the American Dragon again. So maybe it wouldn't make sense for him to go heel just yet. But although some of the things he's said and done since he's come back have been quite cocky. So I guess that version of a heel, pure wrestler still, American Dragon, but playing a heel would be interesting. But yeah, we'll see where we go from there. But moving on to the next match, and it's another big exciting match. We've got the Super Click of the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, with their buddy Adam Cole versus Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Christian Cage. Now, this is just another. I think anytime I see Jungle Boy, it's just another time where you're like, oh man, like it's just another. There are so many things in AEW that I just feel like are cool and exciting at the moment. Like people singing Jungle Boy's song, like things like that. Like Jungle Boy just feels like a star, and like we're part of something special right now. Do you know what I mean? Like anything to do with Jungle Boy feels exciting. So for me, this, as many of this kind of segments with Jungle Boy in, is about elevating Jungle Boy. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like, as much as how great like the Young Bucks and Adam Cole and all the other guys that were in this match, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but whenever Jungle Boy's around, there's just so much. Yeah. It's just so much love and passion for him, and I don't. Not that that's a bad thing, because it's making a star, but the guy already. It's weird because it's like they're trying to push and make him a star, but the guy already feels like a star.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's really weird, but I everything about Jungle Boy, like the way they're helping him, they're elevating him, they're protecting him with keeping him around other people. So not that he's green, but there's moments where he may step up on things, and I don't know. We're seeing another side to him with like the concerto. Did he want to do it?
Yeah.
And then at the end, when he he done it, and it was a perfect way to finish the match with him doing it and getting the pin, But yeah, Jungle Boy, he's gonna be something. He's gonna be huge soon, man. You give him another year or so, and I reckon championship caliber. Yeah.
It's definitely looking like it's going that way, and I'm with you. Like, it's hard to pinpoint why, but all I know is I'm enjoying it, and like it's just so fun. He's definitely the focus in this match, but as you mentioned, there are some great names in this as well. We can't overlook who kind of definitely pulled their weight as well. Early on, we do get straight into the hardcore action. There's chairs being thrown around, the tope suicida twice, and then flipped onto a trash can. Like, there's a lot of weapon stuff early on, which is a contrast to another match we get later on, which I have a kind of few points about. But sticking with this one, Cole was busted open quite early as well, and it just reminds you how much they use blood in AEW. We do get quite a bit of blood in this event, but I guess they are special events. Another big thing that I thought was really cool was Jungle Boy's Hurricane Runner through the table as well. So it's just, that's before they start going up the ramp. When they start going up the ramp, you've got like all the side of ramp action. Like, first of all, you think Luchasaurus is going to do the double choke slam, and then that doesn't happen. And then the Panama Sunrise on the stage where he jumps off of the actual kind of like climbs up something. Bit dodgy though. Did you think it looked a bit like could have slipped? It was a bit of a worrying one for me, but thankfully they pulled it off safely and comfortably. But yeah, so much was going on up there. It was a great. Sometimes these things can feel too much, but at this point, I think they teased a lot that felt like they were doing something, but they weren't. And then obviously the Super Click and their love of thumbtacks, as the Americans will call them, with their knee pads as well, doing the a VTE trigger, which was very cool as well.
Yeah, there was so much going on. It was a part that I was watching. I was thinking, all right, what's happening now? Like, is it too much? But then I think because it ended the way it did, I was like, all right, it kind of come full circle. like with the storytelling as well, especially previously with the concerto and stuff. I think the thing that really got me like, oh no, it was when they pulled out the thumbtacks and it stuck him in Jungle Boy's mouth.
Oh man!
I don't know why, but I squirmed. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was scared he was going to swallow him.
Like, that was my fear.
Like just even one gets stuck in the back of the throat, like that could cause so many problems. But as a visual, mate, it looked amazing. They pulled it off well. It clearly went all right. The kick into his face and when he spits them out, like what a great visual. It's kind of thing you can imagine Cactus Jack doing or something like that. So that was very cool. But then that is, I guess, some of the problem that there are so many big moments here that you might forget them. That is kind of a risk here. Like even Christian doing that rolling DDT onto the ladder, like as well. Like that was amazing. Like, and to see someone like Christian still able to do matches like this is incredible as well. We shouldn't forget about like what he'd gone through and stuff like that previously. Going right to the end though, we do get Luchasaurus hitting the choke slam, and then doing the shooting star press off the stage. Now, there was a lot of moments in this and throughout the night where we do get that awkwardness, and AEW have been criticized for this quite a lot, where people stand and wait for the wrestler to come. It's awkward to hide that. Sometimes they did kind of good jobs with it. The Christian one in this, however, not great, where he jumps up to the barrier. Great spot, but they were stood there for ages. Now, when he actually finally set up to it properly, they did an angle where you couldn't really see him waiting. But you'd already seen him waiting before that point. So even the hidden version wasn't as effective because we'd already seen it, you know? So, and you had a few times where that happened as well in this match in general, and also with that side of the ramp stuff. Again, not taken away from the actual kind of insanity of the choke slam and the shooting star, but I don't know, there's got to be a way where they can time it a little bit better, but it seems a very common thing. Maybe it's just because the spot is so common and it's hard to get right in the first place, but the whole waiting for someone to jump on you is always an awkward one.
Yeah, I think of anything that I'm going to criticize literally in this match, it's just that waiting, literally just that waiting moment. The only thing I can think of, that it sounds simple, but obviously from their point of view, they have to be ready to catch the guy and, you know, so it's all done safely. But it's just staying on the floor longer until they're ready to make the jump and then they're up. Like, you know, WWE have the same problem. Like, they just stand there looking. And I'm thinking, when when we've seen it before, prime example, even in TNA, Samoa Joe, someone would jump, the guy would just walk out of the way and let them just hit the mat. Like, that's what Joe done. So what difference would it be him doing it in the ring to them doing it on outside on the edge? Do you know what I mean? It's
because they look stupid as well, because a lot of times they're not even selling the whole I'm dazed. They're just looking up.
They're just looking up with their hands up.
As a person, as a human being, it's probably kicking in, like you said, too. I've got to be safe. And I admire that. That's a good point. You know, it's a good point. But we've got to find some sort of kind of what do you call it? Like a meeting in the middle. I don't know what word I'm trying to say. Compromise, even that's the one. Where like maybe just the way it's shot, and I think they did try that with the one with Christian, but still they had already kind of given away that they were waiting. So
the Jungle Boy one was a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. But that's it. But when you do them so often, some of them are going to get shown more, like be more obvious, and therefore they're going to stand out more, and it's going to feel. So maybe it's just a matter of cutting down how many times you do that spot. Or not, that's because there were different spots about shooting stars, choke slams, dives, whatever. But you know what I mean? At the end kind of part of it is the same thing. So maybe cutting down on that is a way to kind of tackle it. But like you say, it's not just an AEW thing. It happens all around the world in wrestling. So it is a difficult thing as far as timing goes. But hey, I'm not going to let that take it away from this match. It was a fantastic match in general. And we are 4 matches in on the main show, at least. 5 including the pre-show, where things are flying for me, man. I'm having a great time. How are you feeling at this point?
I'll be honest, man. I was getting so tired. Like, I was tired from the day because I had a busy Saturday. But do you know what I really enjoyed? It was a Saturday night pay-per-view into a Sunday. Oh man, like I was able to sleep in a bit. I could relax. I wasn't in a rush. I didn't have to go to work.
Like,
I didn't feel like I had a hangover
from it, because that's always key to try and keep away. Because I only watched some of it at night, and then I thought, I'll be wise and get up in the morning, whatever. But I don't want to mess with sleep pattern up. But yeah, the Saturday ones we've gone on about before. Saturday pay-per-views are I think where it's at now. Like, I'm all for tradition, but this feels good, especially for us here in the UK. Saying that though, the next match we move on to is another tag team match. We've got Pac and Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo, or as I like to call him, Team Zelina. I thought this was another decent match. But people wanted to boo Cody, and they do. Like, I used to feel like it's about this cool factor. And a great example for this, for me, is Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is great, I think he's getting cool again. But about a year or two ago, I just didn't feel like he was cool anymore. And it's just, you're not it. You're not what I want to see in this position. Something needs to change. And for Seth, I think it's working for him again. And I think that's the way with Cody now. Cody was one of the cool factors. I remember the early days of AEW, like thinking about like the look and the Nightmare Family and the song and the stories, and it all felt great. And it's like, something needs to change now. And I think for me, and I think for everyone else in that crowd, it seems, it's that we want to boo you. We want you to be the bad guy that we know you could be. Cody plays a great heel. And now I saw people speculating, would this be the case? But when they showed a promo video of Pac going, we don't see eye to eye, whatever, it's over after this, I thought, it's not happening here then, is it? Because Pac's not going to get the sympathy because he's already said, you're not my mate, you know? So Pac wasn't the babyface 2 turn on, I guess would be the argument, but surely it's coming.
I mean, I hope so. It's one of those things where you have, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, you love Cody for loving Cody, and obviously like the Rhodes family, and there'd always be a part of me is with him and Dustin, and is, I want my brother. That moment when when I had their match, and I love Cody, but it is time to change. And everything that he's done so far has been great, but as you said, sometimes wrestlers get stale, and when they hit that moment, is switch it. Jericho is a perfect example of when times change, it's time to switch it. Same as Taker. When it was time to stop something and make a difference, he would switch it up. And I just feel like Cody is now in that position where it's time for him just to switch it up and just go heel. Like, I wouldn't have a problem with him going heel. And I think it'd be one of those things where, okay, I want to be so heel that we literally hate him. Do you remember a couple of years ago, I think, was it Ring of Honor when he had the ring and he made people kiss it? Like, be an asshole, man. Like, that's the Cody that I want.
Even this version of Cody, which is a newer version, but a heel version of it. Like, something like, because everyone thought, like, a lot of people saying about the Anthony Ogogo storyline and feud, where it was like, sometimes he said stuff where it's like, are you the heel, Cody? Like, do you realize that you're coming across? So people thought, oh, this is what it is. It's sowing the seeds. We're planting the seeds even like for this. And maybe it is. Maybe that's been the plan all along, because AEW do love their long-term storytelling, which we'll get into. But yeah, for me, I think it's about time that something happens with Cody. I don't know where it is, but I'm sure Cody could come up with something great. So, and maybe they do have plans. And again, maybe this weren't the time, because Pac isn't that babyface where you could get maximum sympathy out of it, So maybe it was a good idea to hold off. But there's a real difference in the air of how people feel about Cody now. And that's not him as a person. That's not him even, as a performer. It is I think it's love for the character, but we want to see something else for the character now. So, but yeah, going on the match itself, actually, ironically, early on, it was Team Zelina, as I branded them, who were looking like they weren't on the same page. They were kind of having a bit of back and forth. But again, as far as match goes, a decent match. It wasn't as good as the previous 4, I felt, but it was still an enjoyable match when all 4 of these guys. It was the first match where I went, oh, okay, is it that match then? Which is mad, because like I've gone through points where each one of these people are the person I want to see on the they are the reason I'm watching the show. Every one of these people have kind of been that at some point for me. So it's strange, but again, it just shows how strong the roster is when you look at a match like this and go, oh, this is the dip. Which is it's crazy, mad, like it's crazy. But again, that's no disrespect to them. It's just what I'm seeing around the show is more exciting to me at this time, more appealing to me storyline wise and whatever else. And I guess that cool factor. But again, saying that, I really enjoy what I saw as far as the performance goes. And the Andrade pendulum DDT onto the apron to Pac. Brutal. We do get a lot of apron things throughout this night, which is a bit of a worry. But we'll get to that later on. And Double A going after Jose as well was quite funny as well.
Yeah, I have this weird thing. Like, I've really struggled to take Pac as a heel. I don't know why. Like, I don't see him as a face, and I don't see him as a heel. I just see him as he is a perfect tweener. Like he is the guy. Yeah, like he needs to be. And just drop the bastard Pac bit. Just call him Pac. Just have him as Pac and let him just put on a great show. And it doesn't have to do all aerial moves because the guy can wrestle. But I want to see more of him. Like the minute he does this aerial stuff, the crowd loves it. And the minute he doesn't do it, I think he limits himself because he tries to do stuff that he doesn't need to do to put on a good show. Do you know what I mean?
I think if you're going into early AEW Pac, like the Bastard Pac, he is mega heel, doesn't do the high flying stuff as much and whatever else. And then, so that for me, there is a distinction. There is that leaning into that heavy, and then there's the basically Neville sort of Pac, where it is high flying. Well, the early one, Adrian Neville, I guess you could say. That kind of that is the we're excited to see him jump and whatever. I agree with you. There is that's what we feel like we're in the middle of at the moment. We are in this tweener Pac. And it could go either way. But that is the best. He's using the best parts of both, though. He's using the badass side where he doesn't care, and he's using the high flying stuff. He is definitely in the middle at the moment. But
but I don't know what I prefer him. That's what I mean. I think that's my worry. Like I prefer him. I prefer him as a tweener, but I just feel at the moment, as a character, there's no direction because he doesn't like anyone. But he's not doing. Do you know what I mean? But he's not doing much.
Yeah, because I thought when he was coming out as well on his entrance, I was thinking, remember at the beginning of AEW, you were going to be the main guy. And again, the roster's stacked. People have to kind of take a step back at times. But they're never really not going to be the main guy. I mean, he was in the main event. He was in the main event scene. Like where else does he go? Like what does he do next?
That's what I mean. Like, and I want to see him somewhere, but it's weird. Like I don't know where. It's kind of like Cody. Like we want to see him turn heel, but if he turns heel, are we going to like it? Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
All these guys feel like that for me.
You want to see for example, Cody, we want to see him heel, but the minute he's heel, we're going to like him because he's heel, and it defeats the object of us. Like, do you know what I mean? Same with Malachi Black. I love his entrance is great, and his promos are great, and he's great in ring, but I just feel like something is still missing. Like same with Andrade. I don't know what it is, but look, them four guys, as you said, I would never thought I'd be saying that about these four guys, that they were kind of the dip in a pay-per-view. I was like, good match, but what's next?
Yeah, and I never thought I'd say that. Yeah, it was more about because I don't know what we're doing with these four guys at the moment.
Yeah,
I think that's exactly it. I think we've kind of touched on it quite well there. I mean, because I didn't know why I felt that way, but I think that's got to be it. It's just I just don't know what I want for all of them, but I know I like all of them. So. And again, it was a decent match. The Black Arrow ends it, which I just put in my note. Unreal move, which it is, and the way he pulls it off, fantastic. But again, enjoyable match, and something's got to be in this position. Not going to steal the show, but that's it. Like the standard is so high on these events that you can have a match like this and go, yeah, that was really good, without going, oh, it's maybe match of the night. Where if you place it somewhere else, it could be match of the night and another show in another company at another time. Who knows? But as far as the match goes in general, very enjoyable. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, man.
All right, so we get the AEW Women's World Championship match. That is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, the champion, being challenged by Ty Conti. So Ty gets a good entrance, Brazilian themed entrance, very big. Feels like, is this a star making moment? We mentioned it on the last time we did the All Out review, that the women's division is growing way better than I think we were looking at. It was looking like it would be about even 6 months to a year ago. It is looking very, very good. They've done a very good job on it. But I felt like back then, the person you probably should give that title to is Thunder Rosa. I still feel that way. So for me, it felt like kind of obvious what this was going to be, but a shame at the same time, because it feels like Britt Baker's got to lose it at some point. We don't want to get bored now, do we? So unless they bring Thunder Rosa into the mix, because I think she is probably the right person to do it, it needs to be done quite soon. But then again, they've got that second title they're moving on to now, so who knows who gets that. But because of that, I feel like it's hard to watch this match again. Another, I would say low point, but a point where I was in the night where I was like, well, I don't really see it going anywhere exciting, so it's hard to kind of fully get into it. But as far as the match goes itself, again, more moves onto the side of the apron, and another one that looked brutal. But my kind of point I touched on earlier is that there's definitely too many of them. And again, we'll see more of that later on. But yeah, a really good match. It was quite brutal. You had the babyface heel dynamic very, very well. And it ends in this kind of strange roll-up kind of mix-up, which probably is good for both parties, because it looks like Britt Baker just got away with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like the match. My wife really likes Tay Conti.
Okay.
It was the first time she'd seen her, and she was like, "Oh, I like her." I was like,
"That's good. Good to get that perspective as well."
It's always good to, this was the first show, as I said to you, so the first AEW show that she's watched live. Obviously, I got her into watching wrestling during the pandemic, and now she probably owns more wrestling merch and tops than I do.
Nice. You've done a good job there.
I have, yeah. I'm trying to get her into football or soccer for the American people. I'm getting her slowly, man. She's got
cool.
Show, but,
cool, nice.
Yeah.
but what are you getting into that she's into that you weren't previously?
Nothing.
Oh, what? It's got to be give and take, mate. You can't just influence her.
I mean, I'll watch the occasional musical.
Oh yeah,
is that fair enough?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. As long as your musical love has grown since meeting her, that counts.
I have issues with musicals, but that's for a talking.
Okay, that's a talking episode. I can feel it.
But yeah, so watching it with her, she didn't believe me when I said Britt Baker's a doctor, like a dentist. Sorry, a dentist. She has a doctorate as a dentist, and she was like, no, she is. I was like,
sometimes these characters are real.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't I used the word gimmick, and she looked at me. I was like, this isn't a character. Like this, she generally is a dentist.
Yeah,
she's like, no, she's not. So I had to Google and show us like she's a dentist. Then she believed me. But I just said, like, it's weird knowing that she has another job, and she was like, oh, okay, I'm interested. So it was just little things. I think I was more impressed with the fact that my wife was like, oh, that happened and this happened, and she was more invested in the match than I was. So I guess women's wrestling, not that this match was bad, but it really, my wife was more interested in this, and she was like, I think it's more
relatable. I'd imagine anyway. Like, and this is why it's been so good past few years. Women's evolution, whatever you want to call it, revolution, and that it's just it's giving people, the chance to look up to people, young girls, and stuff like that, and even men. Like I've said numerous times, especially on the Talking Beans podcast, how teary I've got at some of these amazing women's wrestling moments, and I can only imagine how great it is to see yourself represented, and kind of it is relatable. Like if you have a body like that and you look at someone else's body like that, you can understand. Oh, flipping heck, like it is. I think it probably is part of it, and I'm sure they want them to do well. But it's interesting to get that perspective of a kind of first time viewer and as a woman on a women's match as well.
Yeah. For me though, I really enjoyed it. I think my only thing was I just felt like Tay wasn't going to win, and that's not a thing. That's not a thing on her. But I just think she isn't the person to beat Britt. I just feel like if there's going to be someone that's doing it, it needs to be Thunder Rosa. But I think, and we were saying on All Out, as like Ruby Soho's around, and even though she was there, I was saying to you, like, I still think it needs to be Thunder Rosa. even though she just arrived, you know. And it just, I don't know why, but it just feels right that she's the person to dethrone her.
It's this kind of thing that you can't. It's the same. Like I kind of called it the cool factor earlier on. Like it just feels right, you know. Like it's just like, to quote Lita's theme song. It's just like it needs to be a certain way. You feel like a certain wrestler needs this, or a character needs to go in this direction. And what I feel is the natural thing to do is Thunder Rosa needs to be the champ, and maybe that could change in the next 3 or so months. But I still feel like we'd be silly to not do it if we're going to give it to someone else. So the one thing that did throw me off, and I'd love the way AEW do this anyway, is the win-loss record of going, Ty Conti's got like this amazing record. You go, actually, maybe they've been building them like to this spot and I just didn't realize it. But, you know, so that threw a little bit of doubt in there for me. But yeah, I'm with you in the sense that generally I kind of had an idea that she wouldn't be winning. But again, great performance from the both of them. Yeah. The DDT kick out, and you know, we had a great Gotch style pile driver kick out as well. There were some really good moments in this, and also the stomp in the ring after the one she had done on the steps. She did one on the steps, didn't she? Brought her in the ring, and also the moonsault onto her Stooges as well. That was pretty.
Oh yeah.
More outside interference, but it worked well.
Yeah, as you said, like the thing is, as I wouldn't say this was the match that kind of dipped for me. I think, as you said, it was the match previous to that, like the 4 guys at the tag match. But I just feel like after we had those 4, I think, to be honest, this match I would have been like, oh, okay, this was a really good match. But it was just after a match that I kind of dipped for me. So I think it was just bad match placement.
Then, like a natural dip in that.
It just seemed like a bad match placement as opposed to a bad match.
It's hard, you know, but some of these matches are so kind of hard hitting and exciting. Yeah. Like, when do you put the dip, so to speak, or the change of pace, I should say? You know, like
but it's crazy because I remember watching like the first was the very first pay-per-view was Double or Nothing, right? The very first one they done
as AEW, at least. Obviously all was kind of AEW, but
and it was I remember watching it, and it was just before we were doing like the Rebellious Noise podcast stuff, and I was thinking the women's division is just, it's so lackluster. There's no one there that's a big star. We had Nyla Rose there, and it just seemed like it was kind of booked for her. She was like the attraction, like it was. But there was no one else. And now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, man, the women's division is as stacked as the guys' division. And I'm thinking, we spoke a lot about like WWE and NXT and how great their women's division is. This is equally as good. And the thing is as well, they're so independent that they're not micromanaged. So they're so much more relaxed. They do things, you know. Britt Baker, when she main evented, about a couple months ago at the AEW.
Yeah.
You know, what a match. And now we're getting them in it, like further up in the cards, not early, it's not short. So it's just a prime time now for like women's wrestling. And I'm so glad we're able to be like watching it and to be able to discuss it. Because before, when it was, you know, like Divas matches and it was just so bad. No, man. It was a blink and miss it. That was a toilet break. And now I'm thinking, hang on, I don't want to miss the match because they're so good at performing. So, you know, what a change and a way they've transitioned into like actually allowing them to wrestle. So I'm so glad we're getting to see it.
Definitely. And I think you made a good point as well about strength of the roster, in the sense that AEW like strengthened so much for the men's roster from ex-WWE people. And you'd be silly not to take them, sort of thing. But they actually haven't done that much for the women. And recently I did the little solo show on the shocking releases that we recently saw from WWE. So if you want to hear my thoughts and opinions on those releases and where I'd like to see some of these people go, please go back and check that out. But the reason why I bring it up, and you can see Nia Jax there, I know is a controversial figure to some wrestling fans, but you can't deny that she does have good qualities about her as well. But someone that definitely got let go from that group that I would definitely see in AEW, and I mentioned it on that show, is Ember Moon. I think Ember Moon going into this division would be fantastic. Like the way she was at the top of that NXT division with that feud with Asuka, yeah, they're just kind of quickly touching on that. I don't want to go on too much because I have gone into it on there, so please check that out. But yeah, I think Ember Moon would be a great fit to this roster, and they haven't done it with the women as far as where you could say, oh, it's a bit too many now. They Ruby Soho, like that's about it, So
yeah,
bringing in Ember Moon, I think would be very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, if they did, then what another great addition to the women's roster. I think nowadays. Now we're watching it as like, okay, yeah, they're competing to get TV time and stuff, but regardless of what position they're in, they're always elevating each other. It doesn't seem like there's any malice or bad blood there. Obviously, we don't know backstage how it is.
Yeah.
But from what we hear and what we're shown and things like that, it seems like such a strong environment, and it's just helping develop women's wrestling even more. So, if Ember Moon does come in, that's just another person of like, okay, I want to see Ember Moon versus like Thunder Rosa or Tay Conti or do you know what I mean? Even more better matches that we get to see, and hopefully one of them will main event, Double or Nothing or Full Gear or something. So I can't wait.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that WWE definitely missed a trick with Ember Moon, and she showed that she could be ahead of a division. So I think even if I know we kind of mentioned Bryan Danielson coming in and just straight away getting a title shot, but like, I could kind of see Ember Moon coming in and going straight after DMD and winning. Like, I could see that as well if it weren't Thunder Rosa, if they're really not going to do that yet. But again, I think Thunder Rosa is where it needs to go next. But who knows where it will go because of the TBS title. That's now going to be another option for the women. Okay, moving on to back into the men's division now. We have got CM Punk and Eddie Kingston. Now, a very, very interesting storyline for me. We won't go into it too much because I'm sure you've all kind of heard about it already, but we haven't really had a chance to talk about it. And I just want to kind of quickly touch on the fact that I do like the parallels between the John Cena CM Punk feud that people have pointed out. Punk kind of headbutting Eddie Kingston a little while ago as if he kind of heard the final straw, like when Punk said to Cena about being the Yankees. Like it was very similar to that. There's kind of reality in it, like there was for Punk and Cena. I'm sure they kind of got on, but Punk couldn't deny that Cena was the guy. And here, the rumors of Eddie Kingston's kind of issues with Punk back in the day that maybe he's held on to and just used here. You'd like to think they're all getting along now, but I like seeing it. And I think Punk is another example of I knew this day was coming where I was going to start looking at Punk going, you're not the one I'm cheering for, mate. Because I think Punk eventually has got to be a heel anyway. And I think that's not, it's not a discredit to Punk, but it is a credit to Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston is to use a cheesy term, he is over right now. Now, I'm a bit slightly disappointed myself in the way he did the whole handshake denial and walked off, but it makes sense for his character. Now, I think it's because they're surely going to dive deeper into whatever's made him do that, right? Now, because of that, I'm willing to see where it goes. But as a kind of selfish viewer at the moment in time, I just thought it would have been better to do the handshake. But I'm sure they're going somewhere with it. Now, on the match itself, it was mad. They both sold it so well by not having real entrances. There was no It's Clubber in time. There was a different face on Eddie Kingston. And the way Eddie Kingston just started it off with a cheap kind of discus punch, I think it was like, be this Eddie Kingston, great start to the match.
I mean, I felt opposite to you with that handshake. I didn't want Eddie to shake his hand because, and I just feel like Punk has come back, right? And there's this big thing of Punk's come back after 7 years. While Punk's been away, Kingston's been grafting. He's been working his ass off, right? And now all of a sudden, Eddie's in a good position and he's trying to push himself and to elevate himself. Punk's there, and then Punk wants to go against all these new guys. And controversially, it annoyed me that Punk won. Punk doesn't need to win. Every time Punk is there, it's a spectacle. Because he hasn't been there for so long. If he wants to elevate these guys, he should be taking, like if it's a DQ, he should, or it's a double count out. But he should be that guy that's like, I'll take a pin. Because he's been there, he's done it. For him to come back, he's coming back to wrestling. But for these guys, they haven't left. And they've worked in the time that Punk has taken a break and gone into film, wrote comics and been an MMA guy. All these guys still worked. And I just feel like every time he offers that handshake, it's like, I accept you. You're a great guy. And it should be the other way around. Like they should be welcoming him back. Like, you know, like you've missed. Yeah. So I'm looking at it from that point of view. So for me, when Punk got a few boos, I was like, yeah, boo him. Like, boo him. As much as it's great coming back, he's the bad guy in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. Both things can be true. We can miss Punk and like Punk as the cult of personality and remember how he spoke out against the things that we didn't like in WWE. But now it is true that he is on the other side of the fence now. You know, I'm the same. I wanted to boo. And Punk said it when he come back. He was like, I'm milking these moments because you won't care in a while. Like, I won't be this special. And he's right. Like, he knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. And that's, again, that's not a bad thing. It's just the way entertainment works, you know, and the human brain and how we kind of get excited about certain things. So, again, it's not a diss on Punk or anything like that. I like that Punk can tap into these parts of his character, these parts of his personality, and he can run as a heel. And I love heel Punk. I think heel Punk's amazing. Kingston, I think it's tough because he's becoming like a babyface, but he's still hanging on to these kind of heel tendencies. He is kind of like that tweener, I guess you could say. And like him not taking a handshake, I guess, yeah, he didn't need the kind of good one, kid sort of thing from Punk. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel and also with him losing, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want him to lose either. I thought he should win, but I knew he weren't gonna. So I was like, if you're not gonna, you're gonna make Punk win for whatever reason, then the way they did it, I thought was very good. Like it kind of saved face for both of them because like they basically went into it by going, I don't care if I win or lose. I just want to fight you. So he literally told us early on, it doesn't matter, guys, if I don't win. And like, I was okay with that because they'd already told us he weren't going to win, in my opinion. So it was, again, if you're going to do it, this is the best way to do it. And I like the fact that he looked strong. You know, he did the GTS and he didn't even go for the cover. He ended up having to do another one. And yeah, it looked very strong there. Punk was another one, by the way, got to mention it quickly, who did the Three Amigos and the Eddie tribute as well. So that was another thing that was nice to see. But yeah, what do you think about the match and the dynamic between them anyway? Like that?
Look, I really like the match, but I just feel there was two different stories being told within one long story, right?
Okay.
So they're saying 15 years ago, Eddie was the one carrying bags for Punk, and you know, he was the one that had to like sweep or mop the locker room after whatever. As a new guy, you pay your dues, yeah.
Yeah.
And so Eddie was that guy. Punk left, and then Eddie started progressing, and you know, he's had great matches. But then Punk comes back. He has anger against him, and he's held on to that. Punk comes back. He's got this limelight. Eddie hasn't. So, but at the moment, Eddie's that heel. But then when we get Eddie's side of this story, Eddie's the good guy and Punk is the heel for me because of the way it was. Yeah. And then when Eddie was like, I just want to fight. It shows that he has no respect for him. So after this match, why is Punk offering a handshake? We know Eddie isn't going to shake it. So if he shook it, I would have been like, he didn't need to do that. So I think it saved face for Eddie being like, yeah, people might think he's an asshole, but he has no respect for him. Why does he need to respect him?
I guess it carries on that part of the story of like his intentions, his motivations. Like Punk's might have changed, but Eddie's haven't. Eddie still feels the same way. So that's a good point. I think it depends where they go with it. Like I said, I think they're going to go deeper into this. There's a lot to do with the Eddie Kingston character that you can play off of real life, you know, and they have done with a lot of his character already. That article come out recently that he's getting a lot of praise for as well. A lot of behind the scenes talk and. Yeah, he's another one of those cool factors about AEW right now. And maybe he didn't need the rub by doing a handshake, but I felt like he needed that babyface thing from this. Yeah. That was the only thing I felt was lacking. It went too far into the heel side of things. And I don't think that's where we're going with him, or I hope not. I want him to be lovable, you know?
Yeah. I think my worry is, and again, Darby Allin, right? Punk to give Darby Allin a handshake, he's like, you're a rookie. You know, like, you've earned my respect for the match. Eddie Kingston's something a lot different. He doesn't need a handshake. Like, he doesn't want acknowledgement. He wanted to fight Punk. So regardless of what he offered him, Kingston wasn't taking it. So from having that match, so having that match, it was like, all right, cool. You know, if anything, the sign of respect would have been Punk getting out of the ring and letting Kingston stay there. Like that would have been enough, and then letting Kingston soak in that.
They wouldn't have had to have done the slightly kind of bad guyish thing of I ain't shaking your hand.
Yeah,
I guess you could have
done
what I mean? Things about that damage.
So,
but again, maybe we're missing something. They're going to go full force into a heel thing, or maybe it's going to play on him, and he's going to do more things like this until he accept something or whatever, however they kind of play it. But again, another great thing is one of the most things I was most looking forward to on the show, but more from the Kingston side of this could be that next thing for Kingston. I don't feel like it quite was that. The match wasn't as long as I thought it would be or anything like that, but it was still an enjoyable match. So are we ready to move on to the next one?
I just want to ask you quickly, Punk shorts, did you like them? Because we spoke before, and I also spoke to and I also spoke to Tom, Talking Beans guy, and we couldn't get over Punk's tights, and then he went to trunks, and now he's in shorts. So I think he's just switching it up every now and then. But what do you think of him? Do you like him?
I liked him. I like the design. It fits in with obviously these other kind of designs of Chicago and stuff like that. Now I feel like when you see Punk in shorts, for me, it's indie Punk. I want long, short Punk, right?
Yeah.
Now maybe that's just it's not 2004 anymore, so maybe we should be doing that. But maybe this is a compromise. But they felt like fighters shorts, the kind of thing that an MMA fighter would wear, or more like a boxer, really, or a kickboxer or something.
More like BJJ sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Even shorter than boxing. You're right. So, just on a weird note of like how short the shorts were, I feel like if they were a little bit longer, I'd prefer them. But other than that, him being in shorts was cool because it touched into kind of his style. He's always been like, I do jiu-jitsu and I've been an MMA fighter now as well. So I liked it in that sense. And anytime you bring kind of a realism into wrestling of like even attire, I enjoy it. Yeah. What about you?
I really liked him. When he was bleeding, there was blood on him. I felt like, for some reason, I don't know why, but I just felt like that was so much more realistic. But I think it was because they were white. But I just liked the fact that it was different. It was a different sort of Punk that we got, in that stuff. But the other thing I also forgot, just checking my note, was as you said about the acknowledgement with how it was for him and Cena, and then he'd done the shoulder tackles into a spin out powerbomb. I was just like, look, it's such I thought it was subtle. I thought it was coming, but
but that's enough, though, isn't it? Like that's enough to tease. Like
everyone knows what that means.
He knows. Yeah, he knows that we are looking for that. He knows that the parallels are there, even if it weren't intended. He knows what's going on. Yeah. So I thought, that was a lovely little touch there, and it just shows why. It's great to have him back. Even though I feel like as a character, I want to boo the guy now. I'm ready for that. I got to appreciate the mind behind the character.
Clever.
Always doing great things like that. Very, very cool. All right, let's move on then to the next match, which was a Minneapolis street fight between the Inner Circle, Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, and American Top Team. Now, this was an interesting match for me. Now, I was annoyed that it started out with them all on the apron like they're going to tag in and out, and then they realized, it's a street fight, there are no rules, why are we doing that? All constructs of the rules just collapsed because they realized there are no rules, let's just get the weapons out. Once you did that, why were we tagging in and out in the first place? Or why were we on the apron at least? That really bugged me, especially because we had already seen a street fight type match already, and that didn't start that way, so why are we doing that now?
Yeah, it confused me because I'll be honest, I confused myself first time with the 6-man match, thinking, it was just like a street fight, or not a street fight. Like it was, I didn't think it was a full count anywhere. Then remembered, I was like, it is. Then for some reason, I thought this was also a full count anywhere because they were bringing out all these weapons, and I just couldn't get to grips with. Hang on, why were they taking in and out if it was a street fight? Like, just get on with it.
Exactly. That on its own doesn't make sense. But it also doesn't help that you had a similar match type earlier on, which really made it glaringly obvious. And having two of them probably wasn't a good idea anyway. No. But that being said, I enjoyed them both. I definitely enjoyed the first one more than the second. But maybe it wasn't a good idea. obviously they are in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they touched on the fact that the weapons were things that were invented there and stuff like that. And then I'm sure Tom, as you mentioned him already from the Talk of His podcast, he'll be watching this. I'm sure he appreciated the Prince sign coming out, the Prince symbol being used as a weapon, which I didn't expect, but flipping heck did I enjoy it. And then also the double submission on Scorpio Sky as Guevara comes up with the American football and throws it right at him, like perfect landing. That was very, very cool. And yeah, I guess let me just go to my notes. I'll touch on some of the other kind of spots that we saw here. We got a springboard double cutter by Sammy. The camera awkwardly missed some of the action. And then we saw a swanton from Sammy, and then swanton from Sammy off of the ladder, which was a definite kind of Jeff Hardy type moment. What did you think of that?
I really liked it. Firstly, the minute that Prince thing cut that snag, and my mind was, I bet Tom's loving that. We both thought the same thing. Yeah. I was like, you just can't help but think of Tom. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I preferred the first swanton or senton, whatever they want to call it, to the second one off the ladder, because I guess from the ladder, the way the camera was panned, because he fell down, but he done it in a way that it looked like it. Sometimes Jeff kind of just drops. But I guess from that height, it's really hard to judge. Trust you got a wobbly ladder, there are more, like aspects to worry about. But that first one, it just disappeared from the screen. He went up and then come down again. Like I was like, where the hell? I rewound it. I was like, where the hell did he go? He went up and then it was like a second leap. Like, he double jumped. He double tapped the button. But it was so good. Sammy is just getting better. It's so good.
Another thing I really liked as well, and I like when AEW is, and to give WWE credit, they used to do a lot of this as well. But Baron von Raschke as well, being on the outside doing the Iron Claw, was very, very cool to see. Like, just bring that into the story, kind of into the match. It made sense against the heels on Ethan Page. But yeah, generally speaking, a very enjoyable match once it got going, once they broke down the rules. And yeah, I thought it was quite fun. Also, Santana doing the getting the security guard to lay down so they could run up and flip over him and whatever else. And JR's great comment of basically that going to be an issue with HR made me laugh quite a lot as well. Yeah,
I really like the face paint of Santana and Ortiz as well. I thought when they first came in, they were because they had that Impact vibe still, so they were still. I don't know. I felt like they were like stuck in this generic Spanish like heritage sort of, like essay and what you get.
Well,
like,
they come out of AX, don't they? They come out of the AX stable. So
like I just felt they were so stereotypical, and I didn't like it. But now they've got this inner circle vibe, and they're painting themselves up for matches like war paint, and they've got these
other parts of that culture as well. Like we don't necessarily see all the time,
And they're like really becoming themselves, they're painting a new picture of who they are, and and I was watching it and I was thinking, wow, like when you done the Rebellious Noise interview a couple years ago, and the Usos were called out, and he was like dream matches, and and now I'm looking and I'm thinking, man, like I want to see these guys against the Briscoes and against the Usos. Like they're becoming such a strong, those two together are becoming such a strong part of the inner circle. Like I'd love to see them go for the titles, and things like so. They're
it's interesting that they're still part of it, and the inner circle's still going on because it's changed what it was. Like inner circle has changed, but you do wonder, do they separate, or did they just become like kind of have they've been sometimes they've been mates until it made sense in storyline to use them in a 5-on-5, So
it's kind of
Jericho not really being a heel anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of again. I don't want to use these comparisons, but kind of how New Day work, where they can be great individuals or they can be great as a team. And the inner circle as a faction are great as a team, but individually, each lot of them, like each one of them, is great, except for the two that are a tag. And they just seem to gel and fit. So the team as a whole and the transition they've gone through from the beginning of Inner Circle to who they are now has been so great to watch, you know, and it's just nice to see them on the card and they sit comfortable wherever they get put now.
I think actually we've been touching on like a lot of people being lost in the shuffle and stuff like that. I think for someone like Jake Hager, he's best staying in the Inner Circle right now, because if he came out of that, it'd be another person where you think former world champion, should he be going to the top spot? And like the Inner Circle is kind of saving some of that. Like Jericho doesn't have to be in the title picture because he's in Inner Circle, you know. So it does help. Maybe that we need more of this sort of thing, more stables or something like that, just to distract a few people away from being like, well, getting lost basically, and feeling like there's a glass ceiling all the time, which is a bit of a risky move. We kind of finish it up with Jericho getting, you know, his comeuppance against Lambert until Junior Dos Santos gets involved. We get a 2 count, and we also get a lovely bit of stapler work as well, and a frog splash from Jericho. Again, another homage to Eddie Guerrero, and he gets the win there as well. Nice little emotional moment there. And again, like I think it was probably the right way to go. It was a feel-good kind of thing for this match. Quickly before we move on, though, I do want to point out this graphic, and all of them really. I can't help but keep thinking they've got Mike Tyson tattoos.
Yeah, I kept thinking that when you kept sticking them up.
Every time I see a quick glance, I'm like, what?
Yeah. But yeah, no, just quickly speaking on that finish. So when I said about the Lucha Bros versus FTR, and I was like, okay, they should have finished it on the frog splash and the tribute to Eddie. And then later on, we got the tribute to Eddie and the frog splash.
Yeah.
I was so glad that the Lucha Brothers didn't finish it when I said I wanted them to finish that, because it felt so fitting.
Away from the other one.
But I think the fact that Jericho was the guy to get the finish of the frogs, do you know what I mean? Like it was, it just felt right. And then Jericho just looking up and pointing, and I was like, oh, that got me teary again, right? It was just.
It's funny as well because I looked at it and thought, oh, I knew he was going to do frog splash, and I thought, oh, really, Jericho? Like, is it going to look? And I thought, he's Jericho. Like, he was literally one of the coolest, like, high flying, exciting wrestlers on it. Like, that was his style. Of course, he could do a frog splash, you know. But you forget, like, because he's changed up his character so much, you forget some of the things that he, you know, could easily.
That he could do.
I know sometimes he still does like line sort and stuff like that, and it's impressive, like, you know, with his age and stuff like that. But yeah, you do forget stuff like that. But it just I made myself laugh going, what's his frog splash? Oh, of course it'll be all right. He's Chris Jericho. Like, I forgot he's Chris Jericho. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, good match in general. And then after that, we are actually, first off, we're given the news that Ishii is now going to partner up with Orange Cassidy on Dynamite. Now, I kind of wish we saw him come out here, but I guess the show was long. We had a lot going on anyway. And what I do like about it, though, is the way they always build into their next show very, very well. Like, they always build up on a thing where you could go, that could have been on the next pay-per-view, but we're getting it on Dynamite. Cool.
Yeah.
It does make Dynamite feel exciting. And then straight after that, we are actually introduced to someone who is now all elite. Speaking of someone that we've interviewed here at Rebellious Noise on the old Rebellious Noise, the main Rebellious Noise channel before we split off into the Pro Wrestling channel. Check that out if you can. We've got an interview there with Jay Lethal, who, as I mentioned, is now all elite. I'm very, very happy to see that. Jay Lethal is a great talent. Great work in TNA, great work in Ring of Honor. That's when we actually interviewed him when he was the champion headlining Madison Square Garden. We touched on what it was like for him to headline the Garden, basically having that dream of doing it someday, being a fairly local boy growing up in Jersey. So, yeah, anyway, cheap plug there. Go check that out. But I'm very happy to see Jay Lethal there. And what do you think about that and the announcement of Ishii as well?
So the first announcement with Cassidy, I was like, okay, great. Like, good way to, you know, it just felt like it was an easy way to kind of do an announcement without having to do anything extra. It was a simple announcement, and it was kind of a shock factor from the announcement. Yeah. But Daily, when they first said that he's been a multi-time champion, I was thinking, is it going to be Bray or like Wyndham? I'm thinking, please don't.
It's not
please,
the way you'd
not now.
Yeah.
I was like, no, not like this. And then Jay Lethal come out, and I was like, have you seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit when his jaw just dropped?
Yeah.
I was like, no way. Like the guy that I've wanted to see, and he's there.
Yeah,
and I thought, what a moment. And then I was thinking, I'm talking to Scott later, and I know he's interviewed him, so I was like, he's gonna the cheeky little plug that he's gonna do. But yeah, go back and watch the interview because it is a really good interview, and he seems so down to earth.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. He was so nice to us. But yeah, I'm excited to see him as well. I think he's a great talent. Again, he showed what he can be in Ring of Honor. He had a very good run there. Obviously, things aren't going too well for ROH at the moment, but and we might see more of this kind of thing going on in the future. But I like the fact that they did go from, like I say, announcing what that tag match for Dynamite, and then basically being like, you know what else? We're going to bring in a new star for it as well. And he's challenged Sammy for the TNT title. And it was a nice little respectful challenge between the two of them. Who knows where it's going to go between them. But yeah, it's just another one where you go, wow. I mean, it was weird that someone can come in and challenge for a title like that, as we've kind of touched on already. But at the same time, I'm cool with it. Like, I want to see this match. So yeah.
I mean, I really want to see it. But I think the fact that he said it is an open challenge. So he threw his name in the hat, kind of. So there's like a little buy there. I'm like, all right, I'll believe that.
Which Shibani kind of messed up because he said the words open something, didn't he? And he stumbled and was like, what did he say that for? No, it makes sense. It was in his head what was about to happen.
Yeah. But yeah, when he was like, I would say tonight, and it showed how nice of Lethal is because he was like, but you've gone for a brutal match. So let's say Wednesday. So it was like,
sense that,
yeah. So it made him look like the good guy. And it also gave, like Sammy time to like kind of heal up and then get himself ready. But I can't wait.
Yeah, it should be good, man. And this is the thing. They capture and they go, here's the hook. Come and watch us on Wednesday. You know, like, and they do a very good job of doing that. Okay, speaking of very good jobs, we now got to move into the main event. Now, this is a match that is years in the making, depending how you look at things. We won't touch on that too much because that could be a podcast on its own. But I do think it's been an incredible storyline, and there are so many interesting things that you can point out for this. But let's just focus on the match itself. Well, firstly, the intro video and the graphics team putting that message in for Hangman Page. Did you notice that as well when he said the graphics team? What did they write? They wrote something like, we're proud of you. You know, when it comes up.
Oh, yeah.
So the graphics team are proud of you. Like, that was really cool. It's just like those little extra things that you're going to get if you pay attention because it's fan service almost. Like, it makes the fans go, oh man, you know, like, and they did it very well. Speaking of fans, though, another thing we saw early on, it was the sign, "What would Kota think?" which made me laugh out loud, literally. That was very funny as well. And then, getting into the match, man, generally speaking, what did you think of it?
I just felt like it's been such a long build that I was worried that the match wouldn't deliver because it felt like I wanted to see it for ages, and everyone kind of had this thing of at some point Hangman's going to be champ. Like, is he going to dethrone Kenny? And that was it always. And I was watching, I was thinking, like, the build up, can he beat Kenny though? Like, and the Young Bucks stuff, and there were so many factors, and I felt it really made me doubt if Hangman could do it. So the way they booked it, it really made me think if Hangman does it, what a moment. And the match delivered. It was so good.
Yeah.
Like, so good.
Okay, so as always, we'll touch on some of the notes from the big moments from the match. So early on, we got Callis kicking Page on the outside. Nice little heel work there. Good to see. His reveal on, was it Dynamite or Rampage? I think it was Dynamite when he come out and
the camera.
Hit him with the camera and stuff like that. Great work by Callis there as well. We had the full Nelson suplex on the ring apron as well, which was absolutely brutal. I think it was the one in the women's match where I was like, end the match there. We need it to just end, because the other match is like, there's loads of things like that happening, but that match, it wasn't. It was a very strong move for the match.
Yeah.
So it was like, just end it, you know, like, so there is a lot of talk for that kind of like downplaying big things that is risky, that people do get worried about with companies like AEW and Indies as well. But anyway, going back to this match, great move there, the full Nelson kind of suplex thing onto that ring apron. Kenny Omega biting the wound open, just showed the nutter, basically, that Kenny Omega is now. We had the cool spot as well, where Page was undoing the camera so that he could get balance on turnbuckle as well, to jump off and do his I think it was like a lariat he jumped off and did. Through a table as well. And then one of the first big moments, I guess, we get into when we know, all right, we're knuckling down there, we're going somewhere storyline wise here, is when the buckshot lariat went into the referee. And do the shenanigans begin here? What did you think of that? Obviously, we've got Aubrey Edwards running down at this point as well. What did you think up until this point?
Everything about it was great until that moment. And
okay,
it wasn't Omega or Hangman's fault. The ref, he took a bump, right? So the idea was for the ref to take a bump and get out of the ring.
Yep.
The ref took the bump, fine, then sat up and rolled over Omega. Why didn't he just bump and then stay there and then just roll out? Like
I don't remember seeing that.
It annoyed me, and I said to my wife, I was like, he didn't need to do that. Like he didn't need to roll over Omega to get out of the ring. We knew he was down. They could have kept that. He could have just been rolled out of the ring, or pulled out of the ring, so he's down. So then the shenanigans could happen. It just didn't need to happen that way, and that was the only thing that irritated me. I was like, why? Why did he roll over him? Like it literally barrel rolled.
It's hard as well because you get caught up in thinking about that, and then it takes you away from the moment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned this as kind of a halfway point for the match because I do feel like the match changes from here. We do get, obviously, Aubrey comes down for the count, only gets a 2, though, after Callis gets involved again. There's the title, the Deadeye, and it's only a 2 count. Not long after that, we do get the 2 knees, and then goes for the V-trigger, but it's cool. But then he actually hits the V-trigger as well. We get a lot of this. It's a very kind of similar kind of thing with a lot of Omega's title matches. We do get stuff like this, but I ain't gonna lie, mate. I love it. So it's very, very cool. What I really liked as well, Page getting in his face and being like, I can't remember what he said now. I was gonna write it down. I was like, you'll remember it.
He dropped an F-bomb.
Yeah, he swore at him and he was just like, proper got in his face. And I just thought it was just so good storyline, character-wise. It fit in the middle of the match. It was a nice little break from what we were seeing to show kind of, again, character and a reminder of the story that we're seeing, which is followed up by a lariat, and then the Young Bucks come out. What are you thinking at this point, Rob?
Well, that lariat, it turned Kenny inside out and upside down. That was the selling on that, and the fact that his body just laid there. And then when the Bucks come out, I was thinking, right, okay, one or two things are going to happen. They're going to do nothing, or they're going to do something. And
I didn't think they were going to do nothing. I was very shocked by it, which we'll get to.
I was so drawn in, and I think the fact that they come out, it just added another moment of, well, now what?
Yeah, what's
like because they weren't in his corner before, and it was.
Which I love that they played on that. But
Matt and Nick's faces, like, just staring, and then it was that blank moment when he just nodded, and I was like, "Oh, perfect finish."
Exactly. I mean, you've touched on it there, so we'll go straight into it. We did have the one-winged angel attempt, which he slipped out of, did his own, got a 2 count. This is all while the Bucks are at ringside. You don't know why they're there. Again, I was just thinking they're going to get involved, but it's either going to lead to them kind of costing Kenny or helping Kenny. I didn't think they'd do what they did, which was kind of nothing but something. We had the backwards buckshot lariat, and I thought, okay, boom, he's going to do the second one now. And as you said, he's jumped over. And at this point, they cleverly put Matt and Nick on opposite sides as well. Nick gives the nod. I was a bit worried. I did have to rewatch it because I was like, you didn't fully see the buckshot lariat. It was already kind of jumped when it moved from. It was kind of awkward there, but it was still a good moment. The subtle nod, hits the lariat, knew he wasn't going to get involved. And once he did that nod, I was like, that's what this is. Like, this is the moment. This is happening. 1, 2, 3. Now, it was a great moment. I was so excited for it. I was very emotionally invested. Tom sent me a great thing last night on Twitter of reusing the promo package, but they put Hurt by Johnny Cash on it, which was used on Eddie Guerrero's tribute. And it's just a super emotional song anyway, and goes so well with so many of these things like this. And it was a great video package. Definitely say go check it out if you can, as well as the official one being great. So I was very emotionally invested in this match. It just reminded me of what the journey he's been through and a relatable, enjoyable character. And they've told a great story. And I was texting Tom again last night before the event saying, like, you think about this long-term booking. Is this like how much of it, like some of it's happy accident. I don't think it was ever meant to get with Dark Order or anything like that, right? But how much of it is planned and stuff along the way where they just went, oh, hold on, right, this weren't where we were going with it, but look what we've stumbled into.
Yeah,
let's start knuckling down on it now. This is part of the plan. I think a lot of it's going to be happy accidents that halfway through. I don't think all this was 2 years in. They knew they'd be dressing like Hogan, and like the disciple. Like Matt Jackson looks like the disciple from WCW. He looked like, it's just, I don't think they knew they were going into that. But like as Tom pointed out to me, the key kind of like things as well, where it shows the clip where they say you've changed, and it was like, no, you've changed. Look how different you look. Like it was. Oh man, the subtlety and all of that. And I don't think that is where they planned to be 2 years ago or a year ago. Maybe parts of it, but the little things that again just ended up being happy accidents. I don't know where they go from here. I don't know if there's going to be dissension between the Elite because of this. I don't know if we go into the Bucks turning babyface. So if they realized what have we become, which is what it kind of felt like. Because if they don't, it feels like a bit of a waste. Like, they didn't need to do that then if they're not going to fully commit now. I do kind of hope it does go in that direction. But saying that, again, you couldn't not bring out the Dark Order. So that was a great moment as well. So again, while I enjoyed the moment, I was very emotionally invested. The 1, 2, 3, wow, great moment. The kind of wow of what the Bucks did kind of took away from it a tiny bit, only in the sense that I didn't expect it. It took away from the big pop because I was so shocked still. Which is great as well. I got 2 good things out of it. But I just thought it would be a simple 1, 2, 3. You've finally done it. So I like that they added that element to it.
The only thing that I kind of felt like you as you said, but my thing was he done the first buckshot, and one of the Jacksons was it? I think it was it Nick? It was on when he done it from the back. I think Nick was on.
Nick was the side he went to. The Matt was on the opposite side that he came.
Yeah. Right. So he done the first one, and one of them was in a corner. And then when he went to the other side to do it again, he was in his corner. So whatever side he had done, and then took the pin,
clever.
The Young Bucks were in his corner. And for me, I was like, that's so simple and so effective at the same time. And it was just little things like that. It's a chef kiss moment. It's just perfect.
We nearly lost you there, but we got you back talking about. Yeah, but we got you back talking about chef kiss, so it was perfect. I don't think we missed anything. But, I completely agree. Again, we wouldn't go too much into it. I know we've been going for an hour and 36 minutes now, but hey, we can't not talk about some of this stuff in depth. And it was a great moment. I'm excited to see where we go next. I'm not sure about the whole Bryan Danielson thing. But hey, I trust these guys because they have given me a lot of great moments over the past year. So I'm excited to see where we're going into 2022 with it. Is there anything else you want to mention about this match?
No, man, it was great. Overall, I really enjoyed the pay-per-view. There was a few dull moments, but you get them with every pay-per-view. But man, I mean, how are they going to top this one?
Another great. I mean, again, I don't think it was as good as All Out, right? All Out was just probably one of the best in a long time. But this was still very, very good. You were never going to top that, I don't think. And it would have been hard to do so. Some of the moments and things like that. Some of the matches as well on par. But, they had to bring it. I think it was wise to bring it down a bit. I think it was probably a conscious step. If you brought in another big debut out of nowhere, I mean, don't get me wrong, we had Jay Lethal and I was excited to see him. But even bringing him in, the way they did it was very different to what they usually do or what you usually see in wrestling. So that was cool as well. Before we get out of it, we will mention the content we got coming up this week. We got a lot of stuff going on, not just AEW. Of course, we cover WWE as well. We recently had an interview with none other than Big E, where we talked about such things as bringing back the 5 count and his dream match with Goldberg. That might actually be a reality now as well. So please check that out on this channel, the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. As I mentioned earlier, we are a new channel still as a splinter from the main Rebellious Noise channel, where this is all focused on professional wrestling. So we really do appreciate those that come from that channel with us, and those that are new as well. Please subscribe and check out more of the content. Obviously, we'll be touching on Survivor Series stuff this week as well, so keep an eye out for our preview for that, where we predict it, and then the build-up show on the night of the event as well, and obviously a recap and review. Thank you very much for joining me, Rob. It's been great talking AEW once again, and I'm sure we'll be back once again doing it very, very soon. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Cheers.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.